Mm.
Good evening. Good evening, Debbie.
Well, I see Wally, I see Nick.
I'm here only. Debbie,
Oh, hi,
Cambria,
how you
I'm
doing?
Good.
Who's-
I'm here only in voice.
Nick, you're still out in balmy and beautiful Tucson, huh?
Yes, I am, Wally.
Well, enjoy it. If I remember correctly, you'll be coming back in a bit. So,
Yeah, next Monday, actually. So enjoying the last few days out here.
plus, will you bring back some warm weather with you for crying out loud?
I think
Yeah,
we're
we
having a
have.
blizzard on Monday, aren't we?
Yeah.
Isn't that
He's
a
already
dirty
here. That's just
four-letter
a
word?
wallpaper background.
Hey everybody, it's Eileen Torrey. My camera's not working and I don't understand why, but I am present, okay?
Okay. And who's
My
by?
camera.
We
my
planned
camera
that,
isn't
Eileen.
working either.
Oh, thanks, Marilyn.
My camera isn't working either. It's Debbie.
Okay, Deb. Yeah, just so we. Nick, will you take notes? Yeah, please.
Yeah, Wally, if you can just confirm who's present, so I can get that properly documented, and then I will take the notes as well.
All right, I see Joe Spino, Bill. Yeah. Marilyn. Matt, Eileen, Dan Ryder, and Deb.
Okay, great. I've got all those names. Thank you.
Wait,
And-
I'm here too. I'm here too. Debbie Cambria.
Yes, you said it. Yeah, you said it, Walter. Wally.
Yeah, I
No,
just,
didn't.
yeah, can you hear me, Deb?
Very vaguely, very
Oh.
not loud.
Gosh.
You're cutting in and out.
Wally, you're fine
Great.
with us, so.
Okay, yeah. That's the first time I've ever been accused of cutting in and out, or being semi-inaudible. So, let's see, I know Dan Delano and Christine Hunt said they wouldn't be around. I don't know, let's see, without looking at if there's anybody else. I would think we could probably call it to order and get a moving on this, everyone. I'm just checking over yeah. Yeah, I think we do have everybody else, so I'll call a meeting to order. And Nick, you do have everybody's appearance then?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Wally.
All right. First item on the agenda. Oh, and I did email Captain Brown. He will possibly be joining us. He apologized. He's got another commitment. But he'll be joining us maybe by 7:30 or 7:45. And given the agenda, I don't know that we'll be on that long, but he anticipated some questions given our correspondence back and forth and the agenda for tonight. So
Wally, we can be at one agenda item and be on for 2 hours.
oh yeah. Yeah.
Well said, Joe.
Wally, can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Can we make sure that everybody gets a chance to participate? Okay,
I
I
love
will
that.
I will try to keep my big mouth shut.
No, I've been trying to do that, especially with the new members, just to make them feel comfortable and proffer opinions as well.
Yes,
Um,
I felt very easily able to say things and I'm a new member, so thank you though for thinking that way.
Well, yeah, please chime in and cut any one of us old timers off especially Dan. Uh,
Delano.
yeah, thank you for that one. I'll tell Delano you said
We
that.
can talk about it because he isn't here.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, what is Matt doing? Is he flying an airplane or what? Matt,
These
you-
are these are very high-end gaming headphones. I'll have you know that.
He's actually gaming on the other monitor while.
Yeah,
doing you.
exactly that's exactly what I'm doing.
let us know if you win anything.
Hey, Matt, we're also planning on you doing all the technical stuff if we need to.
I'll
Yeah.
drive, no problem. I'll drive.
Yeah, Keaton and I already said you can handle all the, any of the photographs or maps or anything. Since I can't spell the word tech and I don't want to learn at my age. Yeah. So, but, all right, getting to the first item, everyone, the minutes, as I mentioned, Kelly Pools sent them, I think the day after our last meeting. Yeah, I trust everybody's had a chance to review them. Yeah. Are they acceptable? Anybody have any, qualms or questions or thoughts on it?
No,
No.
I'll make a
I
motion
s-
to approve.
Who made that?
This is Joe.
Okay, Joe. Do we have a second?
second,
Marilyn?
yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, then moving on to the first item. The Glen Avenue extension, and North Long. And I apologize. I can't remember if I sent, or I think actually Eileen may have forwarded this to everybody. And forgive me, Eileen, if I put you on the spot.
No, this was a letter that was presented to Tim Masters, and he did forward it to you, Wally. And he did forward to everybody else to read.
Okay, thank you for refreshing this old and addled recollection. So with that, it's an issue that a lot of us older members on this committee have confronted time and again, stop sign placement. Kevin Brown actually responded to me with his thoughts. I want to leave them. I won't say anything until everybody's had a chance to speak on the stop sign, which as I went up and down the street is probably a third of a mile from north of Main Street is where the Glen extension comes in. Otherwise it's a pretty long strip. I will tell you that I asked Kevin for an accident count on that street, and he provided there are 7 incidents on North Long in the last 5 years. 3 of which occurred at Main and North Long, involving bicycles slash pedestrians. None serious in nature, and speed was not involved. The other 4 involved a vehicle hitting a parked car. 2 of those had no information because they were minor in nature. Another one was a local resident who tried to squeeze between her mail truck and a garbage truck and struck both. He or she struck both, and speed was not a factor. And the last one was the incident the petitioner referred to. But according to the report that was filed, and I was particularly interested in this, yet speed was not written as a contributing factor to the incident. In fact, it was reported that the driver was distracted at the time of the incident. I'm opening it up for discussion at this stage, and certainly welcome any thoughts by the newbies most immediately. Yeah, if any.
The only concern, this is Marilyn, the only concern that I had when I was checking out both the other incident at the school, checking out the school buses, and then went over and checked this out too. So I was at school time, and I can see where the distance on, Long Street is such, but I mean, what can we do about that? People are gonna drive there. But I did notice that right at Lawn and Glen, there was kids coming out of school and they were crossing that street. And that was the only thing that concerned me about that. They were kids with young kids with backpacks on, and they were crossing there. So other than that, I mean, I just, it is what it is. That's like putting in the
Marilyn,
middle.
yeah. Were the kids exiting a bus or just walking home from
No,
school?
they were walking home from school.
Okay, thank you.
They were actually the children of the person who wrote the letter. They entered the house of the correspondent, and they were coming from St. Peter and Paul, 3 young boys.
So they need a cross guard there. At that
Well,
time.
no. Yeah, well, no. Their parents can be there.
Well, the
Well,
parents could be there, or also the kids could wait at the corner and be sure nobody's there, like probably all the rest of us do when we cross the street. They're not that young.
What corner?
Glen and North Long.
Not really a corner. Yeah, it's not really a corner. It's more of a
It's- Yeah,
It's not a corner.
intersection.
sort of, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna this is Debbie. I'm gonna bring up something else related to it. The other side of St. Peter and Paul, where the parents pull in the driveway to pick up the kids. I was walking with my friend when the kids were getting out of school, and the cars were lined up down the driveway on Main, trying to turn in that driveway. And we couldn't even, the cars are blocking the sidewalk, that it was even hard to get through. So they
Deb,
have a
that's
problem
item
at the
number
other
2.
end.
Yeah, we're not talking about that yet.
That's
No,
item
I'm
number
just-
2. We got to
I'm
get through
just
item
throwing
number
that
1
out.
first.
Okay.
Do we want to go to North Lawn and Glen? Should we take a journey?
Sure.
Well, Eileen and I were there.
Well,
Go ahead.
Put it on the computer.
Go ahead, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah. Net,
So this is Joe. I sat there, post dinner time a couple days ago, and like again, there were 10 cars in actually there was less than 10 cars in 10 minutes that went either anywhere. On North Long or on Glen. It's not a very high traveled area. It's all local traffic. I know Bill has said in the past, and Bill could probably reference us to an actual article which would say it, that stop signs don't stop speeding.
Right, I agree.
Stop signs are actually cause more accidents and cause more problems than not. And I was looking up some articles. I found one from Cornell, the study that they put out, saying that stop signs really are not used. They should not be used for traffic closures, and they should be used really for orderliness, not for traffic calming. So I don't know what is, again, the stop sign, I think people like visual representations of what they think is going to make something safer. But in this instance would probably make things more, if the studies are to be believed, more dangerous than leaving it the way it is.
There's a document out there called the
MUTCD
the Manual for
Yeah.
Uniform Traffic Control Devices.
Right.
And it talks about, when you are to employ traffic control devices, meaning stop signs, traffic signals, left-hand turn arrows, right-hand turn arrows, all those various elements. And there are, for signals, for example, there's something called warrants. And there's a whole series of criteria that have to be met. Some of them regarding delay of traffic, some of them regarding the volume of traffic, but there are things that need to be met, criteria that needs to be met before you put those devices in place. Stop sign control is no different. And so they're not supposed to be used as a speed control device. And when you use, the general theory is this: when you start employing traffic control devices in places where they are not warranted, you unduly delay drivers, which makes them impatient. And then when they pass through there, they begin to do things that violate all of the other rules that govern driver behavior. So it has a negative impact on driver behavior if you unduly delay people. So you shouldn't put them in place if they're not necessary. That's the bottom line. And on some level, there's potential liability that can go to places that use them incorrectly and put them in place and do things that result in accidents that would not have happened, say, for the fact that you put a traffic control device in a place where it was not warranted. So those are things that really are important. You shouldn't be just cavalierly throwing these things out and putting them anywhere you feel like somebody wants one, because it seems like a knee-jerk response, and it's a good idea, without really understanding the technical basis for why these things should be utilized. So I think that's the bottom line, is that you have to be very careful about it.
And Bill, that's actually an excellent way to answer the family or the parents or whoever who put this there, because I don't see what we can do with this intersection either, is that there is this book, so to speak, and the intersection does not come up to the level of needing either a stop sign, a crosswalk, or whatever, based on such and such, and at least let them know that we looked at it, but it just doesn't come up to that, unless, people think that it does, but it didn't to me.
The volumes are extraordinarily low, and as someone else said a little earlier, it's local traffic. So it's kind of, your neighbors have to respect their own neighborhood and behave accordingly. Do they really want to blow through there and run over the kids in the neighborhood? It'd be nice if people drove and behaved better, but I suspect that any problems out there are pretty infrequent. And that's really the bottom line, is there's just never any traffic out there of any consequence.
And sometimes parents have to step out and get their kids or watch their kids if they have a concern for that kind of thing too.
If they're little and they're too small to be able to take responsibility for themselves, there's no question you have to be there and attend to them. That's why when parents are working, we have crossing guards, because the parents can't be there, but we still, as a society, as a community, want to take care of our own. So we put people out there in those high trafficked, pedestrian trafficked areas to make sure that kids who are too small can be taken care of. The other side to that equation is that, teach your kids to look both ways before they cross the street.
Exactly.
Okay, now there's no crosswalk here, and it looks like the street was, I was there today. It looks like the street was probably repaved last year. I wonder if there was a crosswalk there that needs to be put back, because I see there's one on the.
There never was.
We can go back in time, actually, but I think, I don't think there's one
there
ever
never
there.
was one there.
There never was.
This is 2007. This is 2011. This is 2015.
Technology.
This is 2017. Never there.
No.
Technology is amazing.
Well, how come there's one that shows up on the minor?
Because there's a
crossing?
sidewalk on the east side of Long, and it's connecting the two sidewalks that cross
Right.
Glen. There's no sidewalk point where it's a driveway apron across the street on Long. There's no place for a crosswalk to go unless you're going to encourage people to use that private homeowner's driveway as a sidewalk ramp to get to the sidewalk.
Correct.
So it's the question of whether or not, the village should alter one of those intersections, probably the southeast side, to make it a ramp, handicap accessible ramp on both legs, on both the north leg and the direction facing north and the direction facing west, and then put a stub of a sidewalk out in front of that wall on the west side of Long, and paint a crosswalk there, and extend the sidewalk across from the Glen Avenue extension out to the west side of Long. Otherwise, there's no reason to have a crosswalk there.
No.
I don't think that's a bad idea, by the way, because if people are walking and they want to get to the other side of the street, that's probably what they're doing. But we don't have crosswalks and sidewalk aprons in every residential neighborhood throughout Amherst or the village. So is it a place where we think one's necessary is the bottom line? Is there enough pedestrian activity that people make that crossing? Yeah. So if it's not, and people don't cross there, they go north and south. When they get to Long, they turn and go north and south, and then they cross somewhere else, then there's really no reason to put one there and spend the money.
On a somewhat related issue, on the Amherst board, we had people from Daisy Lane come to us. Daisy Lane is a short street that runs off of Tonawanda Creek Road, and it has a new subdivision behind it, and the short Daisy Street became the exit for the subdivision. They had speeding problems in this short section of road that was like a quarter of a mile long. And there were no intersections, no place to put a stop sign. They wanted mid-block stop signs and all this stuff, and we said we can't do any of that. So the neighbors got together and they figured out who the speeders were, and they went and talked to them. We had that report last night in the minutes.
Oh, boy.
And I guess
That's a
they
good
cured
one.
their problem. So
Well,
if
actually,
there's people
Dan-
living on North Long that are speeding, maybe the neighborhood should deal with it.
Dan, I don't want to stretch this meeting out too much, but that's kind of a touching and personalized story for me, because people that are speeding and are creating a danger for people in the neighborhood on the street named Daisy Lane don't know the history of that. That street, Daisy Lane, is named for Jeff Palumbo's daughter, who was killed in a traffic accident when she was 17. Her nickname was Daisy. And that was a subdivision that Jeff put in, and the street's named for his daughter. So to have people, driving badly and misbehaving on that street in particular and putting people's lives in danger is really sad. And it's nice that people talk to them and straighten them out before a tragedy happens on a street that's named after someone who died tragically in
Yeah.
a traffic accident. So
I understand it took care of the problem for the moment.
yeah, they should make people feel guilty about it in that location in particular. Every location, frankly, when people don't follow the rules, but they don't realize that it's selfish behavior and puts other people in danger. So,
Well, how do we feel about this?
What, a couple of things before we do anything. Yeah, Matt, thank you for, the Cornell attribution. And what I would, since the older members on the committee have probably read a number of articles having to do with stop signs, and what Matt said echoes exactly what Captain Brown said in his email back to me about speed control and stop signs. And the other portion of the stop sign logic is pedestrians then rely on that too much, and much to their chagrin. That they rely then on drivers stopping, and that doesn't necessarily happen. So it can cause obviously more problems by placing stop signs. Let alone it doesn't really control speed.
Okay.
But Matt, maybe you could pass that site along to everybody, especially to the new members of the panel, so that they can read it, and also the uniform traffic control device, manual, would be nice to for reference. I personally have represented a number of communities, towns and villages on lawsuits emanating from, as Bill alluded to, liability cases, and so I'm quite familiar with the literature. But I'd appreciate it if you, and Bill, if you have any other sites that might help, that you could pass along to everybody. It's been a while since I've looked at those, but the one thing that Captain Brown did mention, somebody could possibly do a speed survey of that area. It doesn't sound like the traffic's that significant, but then I asked him as a follow-up, who does the speed surveys? And Dan, you may know this, I guess it's the town that does. So whether or not they would do it in the village, if we wanted something like that, we'd have to petition the town for it, I guess. But that's, the sum and substance of, my dialogue, with Captain Brown.
If we only knew somebody on the traffic and safety committee for the town.
That has to be the busiest group of people in the town.
I can believe it.
The people that are out there measuring the speed, putting the cameras up and the recorders. I think they work. The only time they're not working is when it's snowing.
Yeah, and I just mentioned in passing to Kevin Brown that, look, I'd find it hard to believe they aren't working a lot, and but that was the only other possible suggestion under the circumstances, short of doing speed bumps or something a la that. Because I'm not, well, candidly, if we want to make a recommendation or not in terms of whether a stop sign should be placed, after this discussion, I leave it up to the members of the committee.
I would
It
say,
doesn't warrant the need. The need
Right.
isn't warranted.
and I would say though, but say it in a way, Marilyn, maybe say something to the effect of, the traffic safety committee believes that the intersection or this corner is, or whatever you call it, is appropriately signed and marked.
It is.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. Some of the things from that book that he was referring to were phrased nicely, but clear that it doesn't stand up to the need for a stop sign or any additional signage according to the blah, 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 blah. And that should hopefully address it nicely, but distinctly to the person who put the note in.
How does, I think something like that, or a general summary from this committee of our feelings, to the individual, certainly makes sense. How do you want to go about doing it, though? And I'm asking the committee.
Well,
So don't we just usually
Wally,
recommend to the board that we believe a stop sign or traffic control device is not needed at that intersection?
Wally, the letter was addressed to Tim Masters. So I recommend an email go back to traffic and safety to Tim Masters, and he respond to the correspondent. Okay, that's what I recommend.
But I think Nick,
Okay.
what you say in the response, Nick, is I think what exactly we do not recommend
Exactly.
any traffic control devices, additional traffic control devices be placed at this location.
Can we insert because it doesn't meet the New York State warrant requirements?
That's the key, because then if we just reject it offhand, like we said at the beginning, then they have an arguable or they can have an attitude problem. If we say it doesn't meet the standard for putting in a stop sign or something, then they understand the reason why.
Let Tim talk to the village engineer and have the village engineer put the language together for him. That's what we pay him for. That's why he's got a license that he puts on these things. So
Works for me, yep.
let Shutt's office take care of it.
I'm sorry, let whose office take care of it, Bill?
William Shutt and Associates, who's the village
Okay.
engineer.
Oh, all right, yeah.
I mean, you could spend $1,000 taking traffic counts and you're gonna find out that the sign isn't warranted, so
Right.
No.
it's kind of the shortcut.
Yeah,
Well, there you go, Wally. It's 1/2 hour, only one item taken care of.
All
yeah.
right.
Item number 2 is
It's a
longer.
record for us.
All right. Item number 2, Glenn F. Howard. I think, I trust everybody has seen, and again, I defer to Eileen.
Yes.
But her most recent email, regarding, the latest on the issue of that crosswalk and what it's going to cost to put in lights there, which apparently wouldn't happen soon. I am surprised, candidly, that buses would park in front of that. Crosswalk, and thus making it a little difficult for young people to necessarily cross. So, but
Wally,
yeah.
could we have Eileen's pictures of the buses put up?
Stand by.
Because it looks totally different than we're looking at vacant parking lots, vacant street, everything else. There's nothing here. There's no problem here.
Right.
Right on the screen.
Ben makes a good point though too, that do those buses put their lights on when the kids are crossing? They may do that.
They have to by law.
Right. So again, even if it's marked, if those lights are on, if the buses are turning their lights on, you're addressing the problem.
Well, that's one way. I hadn't thought about it until Eileen forwarded Ben's email. I had thought, why not pull into the parking lot if you're a bus and wait, for the kids there.
Wally, I have some questions about this because this was part of my job before I moved here, dealing with transportation and school systems and stuff like this. Number one, we would have to find out if for our responsibility, if their buses are only there because of the pandemic, how temporary or how whatever is this. The lot needs a turnaround for the buses, or they have to move the faculty parking a little bit. We were in there the other day and looked at it. I think that the school, I know the school is responsible for safely discharging their kids, and that includes onto a public street, because the bus has to be faced with the door on the side to the sidewalk. And on that one-way street, I'm assuming that it is, but you know, I think the school has to be a little bit involved with this, because if it was because of the pandemic and there's 1 month left of school, they could put a traffic safety guard out at the corner there if it's a problem. To invest a lot of money in something that isn't a problem normally, and is their responsibility to take care of the dismissal of their kids, not the town's.
We back up. I asked for the pictures of the buses. I didn't get them. Or is that a problem?
Was that a separate email?
It was the second email, Matt.
Yeah.
The second one. Yeah.
Aha.
Is anybody familiar with 3D crosswalks? Has anybody seen them?
All right. I thought I had the stage here for a second.
I'm sorry, Dan.
Okay. I just want to show you something. Now, these buses, I assume there's drivers in them.
Yes,
Is that a good assumption? Okay.
you can't leave your bus without a driver in
Okay.
it.
All right. There's 3 no standing signs in the area of Glen Avenue we're talking about. Those buses are standing, okay? Now, they're breaking the law. They're not supposed to be there. Okay, Wally, do no standing signs mean the same thing to school buses they mean to my car?
I'll be damned if I know to that, the answer to that, but the no standing sign was, something I saw, and was.
There's 3 of them, and those 3 no standing signs, that's unusual. I was shocked when I saw that. Somebody put those there for a reason, okay? And evidently they have worked up until a week or so ago. Now it's a problem, okay? But
You know what?
in my
I'm sorry,
mind,
go
those buses should not be there.
You know what?
Well,
I think Marilyn is onto something, because I don't remember this much, because I kind of drive by there, and actually my little guy's going there in the fall. I don't remember this much traffic before coronavirus over there. I think they're doing something in regards to pick up and drop off, where the parents, it's like a convoy. You can't get in or out of your car to grab your little guy. I don't know if it was like this before coronavirus. I could be mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're right. What Marilyn said earlier about they don't have a turnaround in that parking lot. So Dan, they may be standing because they may be there a few minutes before the dismissal, and not having any children exiting the building at that point in time may be why they're just standing there without turning on their flashing lights and deploying the stop signs, because there's no traffic out of the school. They just might be waiting until dismissal. I think that's a valid chance that's what this picture represents.
And the parents,
If this is a corona-related thing, then can't the school put a crossing guard there?
that's what I said, yep.
I mean, if this is a temporary situation.
I think this is a
I
discussion to
think
have
if
with the school.
anything, this has to be
Yeah.
addressed with the school.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
My God.
But I think it's pretty clear that those buses are breaking the law. They could be ticketed for standing there. You can park there, but you can't stand.
Can we get
I
into a
did-
conversation with the school to share concerns?
I mean, that could be a recommendation, is that the village board speak with the
Exactly,
representatives from the school.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good idea.
This could be our quickest one yet.
You cursed us.
I know.
Well, this is the one that Deb was referring to before, because the other problem is coming in off Main Street with the buses
Right.
and the whole thing. But it's not a great spot, but there's ways to do this. And I think that they're not wanting to inconvenience the parents, because the parents are taking up the whole line that's inside the boundaries.
Yeah,
Right.
whether it's this problem here or the problem on Main Street, it all starts with a conversation with the school.
That's exactly correct,
Right.
what I
Right.
think too.
Right.
And they
Right.
could just
Yeah.
tell you, hey, our traffic is all foobar right now because kids are getting picked up and dropped off in a non-contact fashion. We're gonna iron it out for fall 2021.
Right, exactly. That's what
And, you
I
know,
think is happening. That's
and
what
then
I
and then
think.
the problem goes away. But then if they go, well, our new procedure is this, and this, then we'll have to say, well, you look at what you guys are doing both on Main Street and Glen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and you know, you have to deal with the total problem. Okay? And they
Who
need
said
to
this
do
was
their
our
fair
quickest
share.
one yet?
I'm
Thanks,
done. I'm
Joe.
ready to finish it. Like this is that. Let's just say our recommendation is that we have the village board speak with representatives from the school to talk about the traffic flow issues and the bus parking issues that are occurring at the school.
Second.
And in concert with Joe, I'm going to send something that I remember discussing back when Dan Delano was the mayor, and I interrupted Dan Ryder earlier about the concept of 3D crosswalks. I'll send everybody an email that gives some illustrations of it. Dan, we've talked a lot about using paint creatively to control and calm traffic. When you look at what people have done with paint to create 3D crosswalks, it really grabs somebody's attention. That Ben illustrated for us how expensive it would be for the village to possibly deploy flashing beacons where this crosswalk is. Maybe a few $100s worth of paint will make that crosswalk more visible to the traffic coming, and hopefully people will pay attention to it.
They
Well,
wanted to do that at the
that's,
university, and they wanted to do that at the university at one of the big intersections, because I work in facilities, and that the lawyers started beating down our doors because that goes against all sorts of New York State traffic code to put something in the road that resembles something else. Like people were not happy with that. I thought it was a good idea myself. But.
Yeah, but these things are being studied continuously, and the jury is far from out on the effectiveness of these. Number one, that they don't actually influence driver behavior. And, you put something out like that that takes someone's attention away from the other things they need to be looking at, like a kid coming out between two school buses because they're busy looking at the 3D illusion of a sidewalk painted on the pavement. That's not a good thing. So there's, again, brings up this question of liability for the places that implement these. The studies are unclear that they actually do influence driver behavior at the moment. And I think part of that is, especially in a place like the village, where so much of the traffic is local and repeat. Once people have seen it and know it's there, they don't pay a whole lot of attention to it anymore. They know it's not a block of concrete they're running into. They know it's just a piece of paint flat on the pavement. It's really the people that aren't locals that are the ones that it captures their attention, and they've seen it for the first time and they don't know any better. So the curiosity seekers. So I think you do have to be a little careful about it. I think it's an interesting thing to look into for sure. They're really creative and they look really clever. But as I said, the jury is far from out on these things, and they're continuing to study them.
Be nice to see a sample of one, just to see what, it would be, that would be nice.
Go on YouTube. They're all over the place.
Okay.
One thing is,
All
if you had the traditional flasher there at that crossing, the bus would block it. Okay, you
Right.
wouldn't see it. Buses
Oh,
should.
well.
There's a
go.
reason for those no standing signs.
Oh, I think they use those in Europe for actual wildlife crossings, believe it or not. Did you know that? So deer don't cross roads.
No, I did
Right.
not
Do-
know that.
Do they work?
Yeah, yes, it does. It's used in Europe a lot. Yes, it does.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
So
Our deer
back to our
aren't as bright as
recommendation, right?
humans.
So back to our
Yeah.
recommendation, is this, are we good with the recommendation that we have asked the village, have the village board, someone from the village board, reach out to the school and discuss their traffic flow and bus release issues, or, child release?
Yeah, I'll take it back to the board. That's fine, guys. No problem.
All right.
I think we need to put the wording in there that presently the buses are not obeying the no standing signs. Let them know that there's a violation out there.
At a bare minimum, ask them then to put their lights on and the stop sign out. Yeah,
Which they may be doing when the kids are out, but in this picture, the kids aren't out yet.
right.
So again, this is all part of the discussion with them, and I think Eileen, Dan makes a point, Eileen, when you say that too, when you reach them, let them know that the no standing signs are being violated.
Yes.
Well,
Yep.
and not to belabor the issue, but there are rules about how close you can park to intersections. The fact that it's a T is still an intersection, and they're parked right on top of the crosswalk. They're not 15 feet back from it. They're not giving a pedestrian an opportunity to see around the nose of the bus. They're ignoring other rules that are in place for public safety.
Good point, Bill.
And I do want to appreciate, make sure we give Ben the appreciation for throwing that extra sign on the north side of the.
Yes, he did that right away.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well noted, Joe. Thank you. I'll get that in the minutes.
Well, are we done then with that issue?
No,
Yep.
I'd like to call your attention. Could you back up a little bit, go a little bit to the east on Glen? You see that nice painted line there for the parking? We lost it again. Look, can we see the parking lane? A little to the east. There it is. Okay, just hold it right there. This is what I would like to do on Mill Street. Mill Street has parking allowed in the west lane, southbound lane on the west side. There's no parking signs there, so you can park along Mill Street from Glen, effectively from Glen to Main, okay? I want to paint a line in there, okay, just marking the parking and effectively narrowing the street down, okay, to slow the traffic on Mill Street. That's what I want to do on Mill Street.
All the way up and down Mill, Dan?
Yeah, wherever parking's allowed. I mean, obviously, you can't be close to intersections.
Yeah.
It goes from west, it goes from south of Glen up to whatever that alley is that comes in by Headaches.
Yeah.
Orchard.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can park on the left-hand side of this road.
I understood that, and I think most of the older members on the committee understood that. Maybe take that up with Ben, if indeed that's something that can be done by the village. Yeah.
Well, you have to look at the width of the pavement from edge to edge.
And
there has to be enough room to paint. Well, you got two choices. One is you're painting it for parking, as you described. And then you've got a dimension that needs to be at least 8 feet wide to accommodate parallel parking along the street. The second is just to paint it as a shoulder and not worry about parking. And effectively make it clear to the drivers that the lane is not as wide as it appears when it's not striped. Because when drivers are constrained to that narrow lane, they will slow down, especially when there's opposing traffic coming and they're being pushed to the center line. They will absolutely slow down with a narrower driving lane that they can readily see. There's no question about that. So
thank you very much, Bill.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I can't remember what the dimensions, existing dimensions.
It doesn't look like there's enough room for a 9-foot minimum driving lane and an 8-foot parking lane.
Right.
I thought the driving lane had to be 12.
I measured it last year. There's enough room to do what I want. And parking's already allowed on it. So I'm not putting any additional parking or taking any away. I'm just following the law.
No, but
May have to
Right,
move
well-
the center line. Okay.
Right, I recall that.
That was our
being-
discussion before, yes, the center line moving.
because you just want to do it on one side, not on both sides, right? Dan?
Yes, because you can only park on
Park
the
on one
southbound lane.
Gotcha.
the
Yeah,
west side,
the
southbound
west
lane.
side.
I would still paint a shoulder on the opposite side to keep the lanes in both directions narrow.
Well, we have to go out.
Well, you're moving it.
It's a
I
little
know.
narrow street to allow parking. I was surprised that parking's allowed on it, okay? But it is. So I'm not changing any parking.
I understand.
Because you'd get shot in the village if you took a parking spot away, right?
All right.
Don't you guys get shot for taking parking away?
Well, with that, yeah.
Is it 9 o'clock yet? It must be time for item 3.
Item 3, Matt, I'm going to let you bring this up because, yeah, you had noted something. I had
Yeah.
noted.
So I hate when people do this, but I'm gonna do it. It's one of these problems that I have absolutely no answer to, and I see Captain Brown's here, and I think it's a matter of time before something really bad happens right here. So we all know that Brightsmith is hot, the hot spot in town, and now that the Irishman has the open patio, and you can use this parking space now after 4 or 5 p.m. And the amount of people that are just doing the Mother Goose thing across here during busy hours is really bad. I've seen a group of young kids on their phone, maybe not young kids, young adults waiting to go to Brightsmith. They park here, and they're just here on their phone waiting to get across. And with the setting sun and the rising sun, now the setting sun, the way it hits this road sometimes, it's just a matter of time before someone gets sideswiped or something worse. And the thing is, though, I don't know what the heck you could do here besides put a sign here at this parking center saying go walk the 100 yards to the brand new $1 million crosswalk that we installed a year or two ago.
Which we're not
The
gonna
one on
do.
Mill is closer.
Yeah, or yeah, like the one here by Creekview's
It's
closer.
right there.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it's a matter of time before something bad happens here.
Matt,
And,
Matt, in addition to them mother goosing from the parking lot, they're mother goosing just down the block from Spring Street to go to the Irishman when they're coming out of Sheriff.
Oh,
or
same thing.
Morpad, and
Yeah.
we cannot put crosswalks every 100 feet because people are too ignorant to use common sense, put their phones down and cross somewhere where it's safely.
Same
Too
thing.
lazy.
Exactly the same
Yeah.
thing.
Stupidity.
This is the
But I don't
issue.
know. I don't know what you could do.
This is the issue that started the whole concept of walkable Williamsville. And so really the solution isn't crosswalks. The solution isn't encouraging pedestrians to go out of their way to go to, when they know that the shortest distance between point A and B is a straight line, they're not going to walk down to the Eagle House or back to Sorrentino's or Creekview to cross the street when their destination is right in front of their noses and they just got through parking. And the Brightsmith pays for that parking, and it's their right to use that lot for their customers. So the solution is a much bigger one, but it's changing the geometry and the metrics of the driving lanes on Main Street that we've been talking to DOT about forever to slow traffic down on Main Street to pedestrian speeds, like historic villages should be. They should be. That's why I didn't throw that number out of 9 feet, not realizing that DOT likes 12 feet. I'm well aware of that. But that's what slows people down to 25 miles an hour, not a speed limit sign. It's the narrow lanes that makes drivers slow down because they are uncomfortable going quickly when the driving lane is so narrow. You will not drive between two cars in Target's parking lot at 50 miles an hour. It's 9 feet wide, that space. People will drive through lanes and open spaces to get from one aisle to another, but they creep through because it's only 9 feet wide. And if you want it safe for pedestrians to cross anywhere, like they're going to do in a village when there are destinations for pedestrians everywhere, you have to slow the traffic down. And DOT's objective singularly is to accommodate vehicular traffic. People that are going somewhere else. And I've said this at this committee for years. Anybody going, when the business association's upset because we're going to do something that's going to potentially steer people away from Main Street, not being on Main Street, I always say, anybody driving 50 down Main Street's not stopping to shop. Let them go a different route. Slow them down. Do things and
yeah,
petition.
and
We need the
Bill,
political leadership of the village to push DOT to make those lanes narrower and slow drivers down. That's the only answer.
Well, Bill, why didn't they do that when it was the picture of Main Street? And we've also heard you say several times over the number of years is walkable Williamsville. People find a place to park and then they walk from point A, B, C, D, even if they have to walk 7 minutes to get to their destination. We can't accommodate convenience for everybody that parks and wants to be able to walk in a straight line across the street.
I agree. And one of the things that I talked about a very long time ago when, I think back when Culpa was mayor, was I had mentioned to him what he should do. And then it kind of went off and got drawn in different directions. But I said they should be doing, looking for funding, grant money, association money to get a park, a hop on, hop off, this type of trolley that runs with a lot of frequency up and down Main Street. So people will park anywhere along Main Street. And if they're going from storefront to storefront, they'll just walk. If they want to go from where they park to a destination that's further, or if they bought something and they're carrying heavy bags, they can hop on the shuttle like they do on Rosemary Street in West Palm Beach and ride on it. But it has to go by all the time. Then people took that idea and said, oh yeah, let's run it all the way out to Damon College and out to ECC. Well, when you do that, it doesn't go by with enough frequency. It needs to just go through the central business district and the places where people park. And that's another method to keep people from doing unsafe things.
Right.
But those are easy things to do, but it takes a little bit of discipline and attention to the nuances of design to do it correctly.
Well, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't there quite a discussion about the location of the big signal, the Hawk signal? And DOT kind of dug their heels in, and they wanted it where it is?
Yeah, well, I think their issue, of course, is always not having signals too close together. So trying to get it closer to the midpoint between Cayuga and Mill was important, number one. And number two, have it where they thought it was, going to get access to the park was a big deal, especially when they know that when it's Old Home Days, they have a tremendous pedestrian load at that particular location. So I'm sure those are all the things that factored into DOT's decision. But DOT on these issues is really not our friend. We really should spend more time with somebody like Hal Morris at GBNRTC and do a lot more effort. The things that have been done with Partners for Livable Western New York and CNU to educate these regulatory officials on how things are done differently, lessons learned from other places. We're not the first ones to come across these problems. We're just really the last ones to figure out how to do it and not always continuously cater to the car.
Mm-hmm. Good points.
And I completely agree that this is a real tragedy waiting to happen.
It's good, and especially this summer, we've all been locked up for a year or two now. I'm telling you, every time I go to the hardware store and I drive past it during like a rush hour and I see people running across, my hair stands up because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's happened
and,
before the Brightsmith was there. People have been killed doing
Well,
that move. It's
um,
not, it won't be the first time.
Matt, I apologize for putting you on the spot, but you had mentioned that to me in an email, your concerns, and they echo mine exactly. And I did ask Captain Brown for some incident reports or tally. And welcome, Kevin. Uh, yeah, I think somebody has mentioned
Yeah,
you're on now.
I am.
Where are
Yeah,
the
Wally.
police in all of this?
Good to see
Where are
you.
all the what?
Yeah,
Do the police make any recommendations or, oftentimes in other towns, you see police walking around or doing, whatever. Is there any possibility of some kind of monitoring for a positive reason? Or, if somebody has a parking lot across the street from their establishment, is there any kind of deal when they make with the town that, hey, we gotta, put something in here, not, a person, to kind of help monitor? Is there any way to do anything like that, or police super, any kind of crossing thing with a human? I mean, not with a sign.
I guess my question would be are you asking like for a police officer to walk people across the street or?
No, just not to walk across the street. I'm saying is at dinner time or whatever this kind of thing is, that there is a police officer, walking in the village or doing whatever, that if people are not crossing the street correctly, that they can be told or whatever, some way to monitor this situation, that it isn't so blatant that people can just walk across the street because you never see anybody to stop you. That's all I'm saying.
No, I mean, to have someone dedicated to do that would be quite an expense. And I would love to
Yeah,
think that we had
I
enough
get
police
that too.
officers that we could do that. But I mean, it's a big town, and to just have someone dedicated to that probably just isn't practical. And if we wanted to have somebody do it and like as an extra job, again, fund that dollar to do that. They do enforcement. They do advisory enforcement. So they would tell people, hey, you really shouldn't cross the street. We spent a lot of time on Niagara Falls Boulevard over the last couple of years doing that. There's a lot of other things that come into it too. I mean, I don't know if the village is good with giving out jaywalking tickets. It doesn't tend to necessarily lead to good community relations for the police department, because it's not exactly what people view as very important in this day and age, I guess, to trying to politically correct say that. But I agree, it is an issue. There are accidents that are on Main Street. The problem is with everything going on, the lack of traffic over the last couple of years, the numbers actually show after Brightsmith opened, accidents went down significantly. And there have been no pedestrian accidents in that area from Cayuga to Mill in the last 2 years at all. So DOT is going to hang their head on that. Whatever you go back and tell them that, they're going to look at accident history and actually see the numbers go down. And that's going to prove what their point is. I understand what you're saying, that there are some engineering issues that probably could take place and could happen. But it is a state road, and it's going to be their funding and their ideas to do that. So it might fall on deaf ears at this time anyway.
Well, it's the sort of thing where you have to, again, you have to appeal to the political leadership. So all of the effort that was done in Niagara Falls Boulevard, trying to educate the public and trying to teach pedestrians to behave differently. The result is the town has decided to hire Dover Cole to come up here from Miami, Florida, to look at redesigning Niagara Falls Boulevard to make things safer. Mm-hmm. So that's ultimately what it's all about. And it needs that kind of effort. And the village is still in the town. So having the supervisor as a former mayor who totally understands these things would be a good thing. And I would think the effort spent if the town would put some money into the village and Main Street to follow up on these efforts that have been going on for decades, would be a good thing. And start looking at doing all the things. There's a whole litany of issues we've talked about potential design changes that would beautify Main Street, would make it more pedestrian friendly. Just think, if you were standing in the middle of that street waiting to cross and you're in that opposing left lane, and like you said, talking on a phone, you are taking your life in your hands. Whether there's been an accident in 2 years or not, it's a foolish thing to do. And the idea that this could be like Main Street is, which isn't perfect, but if you drive down this very same road and go through the middle of Batavia, the city of Batavia, they took the same road with the same lanes, the same basic configuration, operated and maintained and administered by the same agency, New York State DOT, and they put a center median in with flower beds. And now you've got a place for pedestrian refuge for people that are crossing that street to stand out of the traffic while they just cross 2 lanes, and now they wait to cross 2 more, and they don't have to worry about the lights being in the right sequence from both directions so that they get enough of a pass, or they're not playing human Frogger going across it. There's things that need to be done here, and they need the political will and the leadership to be behind it. It's not something you're going to do when people are speeding down. I mean, how many people? People don't go 35 down Main Street, and 35 is too fast for pedestrian activity.
Bill,
And to top
go ahead.
that off, Bill, we know that the tolls are gone. And remember how everybody said once the toll booths are removed, Main Street traffic would reduce? Well, how did that work out for everybody?
Yeah, I think if you travel Main Street at all, you knew that wasn't going to happen.
Exactly.
Well, it required more than just the tolls. Tolls was part one. Next part was to get an interchange. Once it was free, cut in at Young's. And then when you put those things in place, now people that want to get to the thruway without going down Main Street would take that route. But without the interchange at Young's, it doesn't happen. And DOT is going to say the same thing here, or the Thruway Authority, I should say, would say the same thing that we were just talking about with the pedestrian hawk signal. The idea that there's too many signals too close together is the Thruway Authority's argument about too many interchanges too close together. So it's not just a simple sales pitch, and they'll just say, oh yeah, let's put $30 million against this and we'll put it in an interchange. It doesn't work that easily. Some of these things are lessons that have been learned over the course of a career for people too. So changing their paradigm is not an easy thing to do. It takes a while to make these shifts. That's why we brought CNU here. That was the whole point of it, was to try to at least start to change people's attitudes and sensibilities and get them some exposure to the things that are happening in other parts of the country and other parts of the world, and try to get some of those to happen here, not 30 years from now, but to get them to happen now.
Mhm.
I don't know if you hear any frustration in my voice, but I'm frustrated.
I've heard that frustration before, Bill. Yeah, I think it started with the redo on Main Street. I do share Matt, and I think most everyone's concerned about what's going on and on Main Street. And I'm wondering if anybody, and maybe we put this back on for further discussion, can come up with some more immediate suggestion, since people seem to be crossing the street to other parking locations, when if you walk just a little bit, you could park in the municipal lot, especially after 5 o'clock when town hall closes.
What about, so Brightsmith is paying the plastic surgery center to use this lot after a certain time of
Right.
day?
Matt,
So
Well,
what-
Matt, the ownership of the plastic surgery, they're actually also part owners of Brightsmith. See,
Right.
that's,
right, so
Okay, what about
maybe-
this?
Yeah.
Asking them at this, just right here, at just saying a sign, it might not, it probably will do jack, but asking them, hey, if you're parking here and you plan to go across the street to Brightsmith, please use the crosswalk at the Hawk signal, or please use the crosswalk at Mill and Main. I know it's a silly little sign, but if one person sees that sign and says, I'll walk the 75 yards down to Mill Street, okay, instead of running across, that's one person that might not get clocked.
Another possible
Yeah.
suggestion is to talk to Dave Schutte, who can talk to his partners. Perhaps that lot initially they can use for their employees, or Dave's employees, of both the Creekview and the Brightsmith, because there aren't that many spots in that parking lot to begin with. And if you got the staff parking there, that would eliminate customer parking and send them someplace else.
We'll
I mean,
just
he's
kill
got a
employees,
sign.
not patrons.
He's got a sign. He's got a sign right there already. If he were just to add some sort of verbiage on there saying, if you plan to use this lot and cross the street to hit up any of the, eateries or shops on the other side of the road, if you could just use the Hawk signal or the crossing walk at Mill.
Yeah, but Matt, we all know that when somebody's pulling into that lot to go to Brightsmith, they're texting their buddy saying, "Hey, I'm here. Where are you?" They're not going to read a sign.
Yeah, I know, but you would think too for any sort of litigation, if I was coming across here and I got nailed, the first thing, I'm not a lawyer, farthest thing, but you think the first thing through somebody, a lawyer's mind is there any sort of signage here saying you don't cross the street like a knucklehead? I mean, I don't know.
Was that a Freudian thing when you said twofer and you started that whole thing with preface by twofer?
Matt, you have-
Because
Matt, I
if you don't
think
think alcohol will influence their judgment.
Well, I would hope if they're traveling there, they haven't indulged yet.
Oh, they're coming back to their car eventually.
Yeah, that's true.
Matt, I like your thinking for another reason. Actually, as part of the sale, and the doctors are, as we know, part owners in Brightsmith, as part of the pitch to the village, because they didn't have enough parking at Brightsmith, they sold the pitch to the planning board and the village by saying we would dedicate at least 4 more parking spots.
That's right.
In the parking lot across the street. So I look at them, if I were not an insurance defense attorney formally, I would look at them as a definite target. So maybe they should be putting a sign there at a bare minimum, or encouraging at Brightsmith, and Irishman should as well, that the municipal lot be used.
I mean, look at this. He's got 3 or 4. He's got 3 signs right here. What's one more saying, hey, if you're parking here after 5 o'clock, just use the crosswalk if you want to get to Brightsmith.
They're more
They don't
likely to put a
jaywalk.
sign up that says, if you break your face on a car, come see us. We'll fix your face.
Nick, you want to put that in the minutes too?
The funny thing
Oh,
is that,
goodness.
to that end, though, they're more likely to put a sign up saying, just say either "Don't cross" or "We're not liable." Like just say, "Hey, warning."
The behavior that they've expressed there, which they were in front of the ZBA as well, and I was equally frustrated by it because they view this as, and it is legally, as proprietary space, and they have made a deal by contract with Brightsmith solely, and they don't want anybody else parking there, even though the reality is that what we want on Thursday nights with music on Main and anything else is that people park once. You've heard me talk about park once strategies in the past. The idea is park once and then walk all over the place. Walk down to go to Share. Walk down and go to Rock Street and see some music there. Get down to the Glen Park Tavern and cross at the Signal before you walk back the other side of the street and stop at the establishments up and down the other side of Main Street, and then cross at the Signal and come back and go to Sorrentino's and then come back to your car in the parking lot. The idea that it's only a point of parking for the Brightsmith, and the destination that you go to after you've parked is directly across the street, across 5 lanes of traffic that's generally speeding, and potentially even trying to beat the light at Mill is not a great idea, but it's the way it is. And I will continue to say, the issue is less about the pedestrians and more about the behavior of drivers on Main Street who are responding to the physical environment where they're driving. They're driving appropriately for the way the street's designed. They're not driving appropriately for a street that was designed for a village. And the best places in the country are where there's a lot of pedestrian activity and a lot of traffic that goes slow are narrow streets and
Oh,
lots of on-street parking.
hey, I'm on a Zoom meeting with the town board.
Oh, okay.
Can I call you back when we're done?
Did
Go
we
ahead.
get bumped up to town board?
I know.
Awesome.
But,
We get a check now,
I
right?
don't have a card. What's
Yeah.
tomorrow night?
Marilyn, can you mute
Yeah.
yourself?
Marilyn, mute,
We're talking about.
Hang on, Jim. What?
Mute.
yourself.
yeah,
mute your microphone. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Where's mute here? I'll go in the other room. I'll be right back.
look, everyone, not to belabor and not to get to 9 o'clock. It's and the immediacy of the issue and what we might do most immediately or recommended at this stage. Bill, yeah,
All right.
what you're
Okay, thanks, Jim.
recommending, and have espoused for quite some time, ain't gonna happen tomorrow. We all know that.
That's for sure.
So, but the problem, I think, and I know what Captain Brown had said, and he has sent me the stats for the last few years. And I suspect, as does he, that due to COVID, the number of accidents is down. But I just see it as a definite problem. And something that should be done immediately. I like Matt's, suggestion of signage, and perhaps signage in Brightsmith. And I think the Irishman, somebody told me, has signs now encouraging use of the municipal lot. Something like that has to be done. But again, we're dealing with those 4 or more dedicated spots across the street at a bare minimum in the doctor's lots that are going to entice people continually. I think signage of some sort by the people most immediately involved makes sense, at least to try and minimize the the jaywalkers, so to speak. Anyone else?
So Wally, for purposes of the minutes, accepting Matt's positive suggestion for additional signage, where did this topic originate? I mean, do we recommend that Eileen take it to the village board and they communicate it to the operators of Brightsmith?
Candidly, I think they should, since the village board ultimately allowed parking across the street as a get around to Brightsmith's inability to come up with the appropriate number of spots on their side of the street. Something like that. Yes.
Okay, I can do that. Thank you, Wally.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
Well, encouraging the owners of Ed Young's parking lot to allow people to park there too, instead of having all these threatening signs, we're going to tow you. would be helpful, using that as much more of a community lot. I understand that it's their parking lot and they want to reserve it for their patrons and their customers, but I think most of us have shopped in there. There's not ever enough customers in that place to fill up that parking lot, ever. So, you know, and I also get that they have liability with people parking in there if they have a slip and fall and they get sued for somebody that's not even spending money in their establishment. But that's part of what a village is all about, is shared parking. And that's one of the things that would be nice to see there, because they certainly don't need all of that lot just for that store. And especially when so many of their customers, like me and other people that live in the neighborhood, walk there and walk back. So to me, it's they're totally telling people not to do that, as frankly do the plastic surgeons as well. Only park here if you're going to Brightsmith or coming to have your face fixed. Anybody else, you're not welcome. I mean, that's a public education issue for the village to the people that own parking lots in the village.
Yeah, but Bill, there's plenty of times that those lots are full. And remember, part of that lot is owned by
Creekside.
Larry Reed, and Creekview leases spots from Young's, and they delineate that. And there are those other stores in the plaza too. And you know, I probably walk as much. You know, we're in almost the same block there as much as you do. And there are times when that lot is completely full. And then, you know, so the idea of private property owners agreeing to public participation is another pipe dream, as much as NYS DOT reconfiguring Main Street as a village street.
Well, I think my point is that even when that lot's full, it's not full of Ed Young customers. It's not full of Creekview customers. It's not full of Reed's dry cleaning customers. It's full of people that are doing just what we want them to do. But you still have signs out there saying, "Don't do it. We're going to tow you."
Yeah.
And they're turning some people away because of it.
No, man.
Yeah.
And it's not always full. It's only full when people find it such a nuisance to go anywhere else, they're willing to roll the dice on the sign.
Wow.
Well, Bill, you know, I used to have a commercial building, and, you know, I had a lot of problems when my employees couldn't find parking spots because people in the neighborhood were using it for overnight parking or things like that. You know, and I was a good neighbor, and I was across the street from a municipal park. But at the end of the day, it's my property, and I had to consider my customers and my employees first.
Oh, I prefaced everything with I understand all of that. I get it, Nick. I do. I really do. It's not a perfect world, I know, but you got, you know, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So.
All right, with that, where are we going with this then, everyone?
We're recommending that they put some signs
Wally,
up.
as everybody suggested, I think I'll put in there that we're going to direct Trustee Torrey to communicate Matt Sherry's recommendation for signage to be deployed at the lot. And based on the fact that during their discussions pre-construction of the Brightsmith property with the village planning board and ZBA, that they agreed to provide a minimum of 4 spots in that lot for the Brightsmith customers. And hence we feel that it's their responsibility to post some sort of sign advising their patrons of the potential hazards crossing mid-block.
Sounds good. Got it.
Who was that?
That was Eileen. Yes,
Okay.
I agree.
I think that's a perfect suggestion, but
Where does the liability fall, Wally, or somebody, if somebody, you know, has a little bit too much or their cell phone and goes from Brightsmith to the parking lot and back and forth? Is the village or Brightsmith held liable if one of them if they get hurt if they're jaywalking?
It's a good question. Not necessarily, but in my mind, I'd sue them both.
Is there any responsibility to the individual crossing mid-block inebriated for their own accountability?
Yeah,
It's 2020. No one's accountable anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what my position is.
Yes,
There doesn't seem to be any individual accountability.
Yeah, Nick, in the New York State world, yes, there'd be accountability. Yeah, you assume a certain amount of risk on your own. But by the same token, yeah, there's an invitation, so to speak, and to almost go directly across the street to that lot.
Yeah, that's what bothers me.
Yeah, and most immediately, if I were a plaintiff's attorney in my former life, yeah, I'd look to sue doctors because they have lots of insurance, usually.
I just want everyone to buy my new T-shirts that I'm marketing. Drunk Lives Matter.
But yeah, no, there'd be a certain any judge would tell a jury that yes, yeah, there's a certain amount of negligence on anyone's part who uses who jaywalks, so to
Well,
speak.
I
Well,
can,
Wally, I think it would be different. Like, it's one thing if it were a parking lot, just a plain old parking lot, but it's the fact that, one, they are part owners of the brewery across the street, and there's a lot of commingling of interests there. So I think you're totally right that like, there's certainly potential, and when you say a lawyer worth of salt is going to sue both Brightsmith and the place across, the doctors across the street.
And they are advertising free parking there for Brightsmith. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
All
Yeah.
right. That's a good point, Eileen.
Yeah.
As long as the village can't get sued, that's all.
of
Yeah.
course, the village can always
That's
get
what I
sued.
was concerned about.
The village
Yeah.
can always get sued.
Yeah, well, I know, but I mean,
You bring in as many people as you can,
Yep.
but again, the doctors are probably insured up to whatever.
wazoo.
Yeah. And that the signage might, yeah, the present signage probably would make them more culpable. So, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
And,
Wally.
that, yeah. There are times when I wish I was back in that world. But,
Wally, I have a question for Captain Brown. May
Go
I
ahead.
ask it?
oh, yeah.
Captain, for a no standing sign, does that apply to school buses that would be standing by that sign? That there's no standing?
sure, absolutely. School buses aren't exempt from parking regulations.
There you go. Everybody
I'm
hear
sorry.
that?
Yep.
Yeah, we all heard it.
Was that the prior conversation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They are or aren't exempt, Captain?
They are not.
They're not
Okay,
exempt.
that's what I thought.
Okay.
From parking regulations. Obviously, they can stand or stop to unload passengers. But to just stationary park without unloading passengers or having people come on and off the bus, I mean, no parking is no parking,
No, it's no standing.
or no standing.
Standing.
Well,
And there's no kids getting on the bus or off or anything.
Right.
so you can stand if it's marked no standing, you can stop temporarily for the purpose of engaging in receiving or discharging people. So if you're not getting people on or off the bus, then no, you wouldn't be able to stand there. But if
But
people are,
Ca-
or
Ca-
if kids are getting
Captain-
on the bus at the
yeah.
time, then you can't park there.
Okay. Captain, if the buses were to get there, say dismissals at 3:00 and the buses roll up at 2:55, is that, they're cutting it as close as they can?
Right.
Would they be ticketed for something like that?
A school bus? No, not for something like that. I mean,
Okay,
if the
thank
bus
you.
is somewhere where it shouldn't be for, a half an hour before they pick anybody up, well, then they'd probably be asked to park in a better spot, especially if it's creating a hazard.
Yeah.
So what would the exact time limitation be where they could stand there without violation?
There isn't.
Half an hour? That's a long time.
There isn't one.
There's not,
There
one. It's
isn't?
up to the discretion, so.
Okay,
I mean,
Captain, the
generally, a police
problem-
officer's not gonna want to give a ticket to a school bus.
right.
So they'll more or less just ask them if they're creating a hazard to go park somewhere else.
Right.
And that's where the school has the role in telling, because they deal with all the drivers and all the transport companies. They tell them
Right.
what time they can potentially arrive.
Absolutely. The school should be responsible for having a
Right.
safe arrival and dismissal to get the kids
Exactly.
on a bus. That's really the school's responsibility.
Okay, there you go.
We
All
made a
right.
good recommendation.
Captain, I did want to mention,
Thank you.
and we did discuss the North Long situation. I gave the committee your comments and what traffic accidents, and to a person, I think everybody echoed exactly your feelings, and I want to thank you for providing all that information for all the issues that we're dealing with tonight.
Happy to help.
Um,
With in regards to the crosswalk, the crossing guard came up. I got an email earlier today from Keaton about a crossing guard there, and I corresponded back with him with the policy that the town has. But unfortunately, it probably wouldn't meet there's a threshold of students and walkers and pedestrians that have to be met in order to meet that requirement. And I can't imagine the school's not very big that you would have enough walkers on that side in order to reach that threshold. But that would actually have to be physically counted by someone. I don't know if anyone from the village would do it. I don't know if the town is, they wouldn't be responsible to do it, but I don't know if they would assist in doing that. And then the overarching question would be is who's going to pay for that crossing guard? If it does meet that criteria, is the village going to pay for it? Are they going to enter into an agreement with the town? So the town hires a person, but the village pays for it, or vice versa. I don't know how that would work. That's above my head. That's more of a trustee level decision, I believe. But things to consider nevertheless.
Well, that's more than a bit of a nuance to what we discussed now. I think most immediately, what was being recommended is that and correct me if I'm wrong, any member.
Well, Nick can read what we recommended, right?
Talk to the school about the bus situation most immediately. Maybe find out if that crosswalk, if the school can tell us approximately how many students would use that crosswalk. Something like that while you're talking to the school officials about the bus situation. Leave it at that. But thank you for that one too, Captain. Any further discussion on that, or I hesitate to ask if there's anything new.
Oh, come on, Wally. We only have 28 minutes to kill before 9 o'clock. Somebody can stretch it out.
Come on, I was
Is there anything from last month's agenda we can talk about?
Right.
Rehash it.
Or last year's?
I'm not saying
I think we're good,
anything
Wally.
in
I think
that
we're good.
regard. Yeah,
In 30 seconds, was there any movement on that crosswalk on Cayuga? 30 seconds, and that's it.
oh yeah. Eileen, I thought Eileen.
Well, the crosswalk, first of all, I don't know, I didn't inform you that there was no funding as of present for the crosswalk.
That's it.
And
Done.
thank you, that's it.
Done.
So
No
nothing's
money,
gonna be
that's it.
happening
That's
in the near
it.
future. Yep, that's it.
Good.
Perfect. That's great.
Okay, Wally, should we set the date for the next meeting, please?
Yes. I'm a proponent, as some of the older members would, remember, of a meeting, say, every couple of months. Right now, for the new members and for Eileen, it's scheduled monthly. Yeah, and with the proviso that it can be canceled if there's nothing going on at almost the last minute. I don't particularly like that because, yeah, people have to make plans, but right now it would be the first Thursday of next month, or candidly, say 2 months hence, however you want to do
Well,
it, everyone.
Wally, the first Thursday in July is July 1, which is Canada Day. Maybe the bridge will be open by then, but it's also probably going to be the unofficial start of the 4th of July holiday. So
Yeah.
you may even want to go into August if you can get away with it.
Well,
I
next
would-
month is June.
Yeah, but as Wally said, there may not be a need to meet next month.
Yeah,
Okay, whatever.
I leave it to the committee. Do you want me to, I try and get to you about at least 2 days in advance. And I have asked for any issues 3 or 4 days in advance, or any concerns to be sent to me, so I can put them on the agenda.
So I make a suggestion then, Wally, that we plan for June 3rd with the potential that it be canceled. July, we would not meet because it's the 4th of July. And then that means, so we might meet in June. And then the next meeting would be in August after that.
Right. It's a good idea,
Sound-
Joe.
Sounds like a plan to me. I like it.
Yep. I like
Okay,
it
that's
too.
that's what I'll put in the minutes then.
All righty. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn, everyone?
Bye, Joe.
And a second.
Second,
Second.
All right, all in favor?
aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone, as always.
Thank you.
Stay well and enjoy the rest of the month. And hopefully
care.
you'll bring back some good weather, Nick.
I'll certainly
Warm
try,
weather.
Wally.
Okay,
All
thank
Having a
you.
blizzard
Okay.
Monday.
No, thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Good
Good
night.
night, all.
The blizzard Sunday, Nick. Good night, everybody.